Hello, Ace Wisdom family. Welcome back. Dealing with an avoidant ex can feel like being stuck in a never-ending loop of uncertainty. They pull away, they go silent, and you're left wondering if they'll ever come back. Here's the truth. Avoidant exes don't operate on emotions the same way most people do. Their return isn't immediate, and it isn't random. It's a process. And that process, it has stages. There are patterns, predictable behaviors, and yes, even a timeline. Today, we're going to dive deep into the 7 stages an avoidant goes through before they come back. And when you understand these stages, you can finally stop feeling lost in their silence. The Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus remind us that understanding human nature gives us clarity and power. They taught that we shouldn't chase outcomes or people, but instead prepare ourselves for the challenges of life with reason and calm. When you grasp these stages, you'll realize that their return has nothing to do with your worth. It's about their inner battle. This isn't about manipulating them. It's about knowing the game they're playing, so you don't fall into the trap of second-guessing your own value. As the Stoics say, the obstacle is the way. Their avoidance is your chance to grow stronger, to rise above their behavior, and to live your truth unapologetically. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the stages, but also how to navigate their timeline with grace, power, and patience. And here's the kicker. When you embody self-worth and resilience, it changes the game. You stop waiting, you stop chasing, and you let them come to terms with what they lost. Imagine them wrestling with their choices, finally realizing the void you left behind. This is the shift they never expected. So before we dive into the 7 stages, I want you to do 3 things. Hit that like button, subscribe for more life-changing insights, and comment a mantra that reflects your strength and clarity. Something like, I am whole, with or without them. Share your truth in the comments, because every time you declare it, you take back your power. Stage 1. Relief and emotional disconnect. When an avoidant ex leaves, the first stage is all about relief, but not for you. For them, it's like they can finally breathe. This isn't because they didn't care about you. It's because avoidants often feel overwhelmed by emotional intimacy. It triggers a deep-rooted fear of dependency or vulnerability, and leaving feels like their escape hatch. In their mind, distancing themselves allows them to regain control over their emotions and avoid the discomfort of closeness. But here's the catch. This relief is temporary. Right now, they're not missing you because they're too busy convincing themselves that leaving was the right decision. They'll justify it in their head with thoughts like, I just need space, or this is for the best. It's not personal. It's how they cope. The Stoic philosophers would tell you to see this stage for what it is, a test of your own resilience. As Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. In this moment, you might be obsessing over what they're doing, who they're with, or whether they even cared about you at all. Don't. Their relief isn't about you. It's about their inability to sit with their own discomfort. Here's where you need to focus on yourself. Give them the space they think they need, but don't sit there waiting. Instead, lean into the wisdom of Stoicism. Control what you can. Your actions, your thoughts, your growth. They're not thinking about you in stage 1, and that's okay. This is where you plant the seeds of your own empowerment. Remember, stage 1 isn't permanent. The very relief they're feeling now will eventually shift, but only if you stay strong and don't chase. This might take roughly 2 months, depending on individual relationship circumstances. Let them believe they've regained control, because in the end, it's this false sense of freedom that will lead them straight to the next stage. Stage 2. Doubt begins to creep in. After 1 or 2 months, once the initial relief wears off, an avoidant ex enters stage 2 doubt. At first, they convince themselves that leaving was the best decision. They had their space, their freedom, their emotional peace. But now, that space feels a little too empty. That freedom, it's starting to feel lonely. This stage is where cracks begin to form in the narrative they've told themselves about why they left. At this point, they might start to wonder, did I make the right choice? This doubt doesn't hit them like a lightning bolt. It creeps in slowly. It often starts with small reminders of you, memories of shared moments, inside jokes, or even just the absence of your energy in their life. For avoidants, this stage is particularly unsettling because it forces them to confront emotions they've spent their whole lives avoiding. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught us that people are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of things. Right now, their mind is starting to shift. What once felt like relief now feels like something is missing, but they won't admit it, not even to themselves. They'll bury it, distract themselves, or convince themselves they're fine. But here's the truth. They're not fine. This doubt marks the beginning of their emotional journey back to you, whether they realize it or not. For you, stage 2 is critical. This is where many people panic. They sense the doubt and try to reach out, hoping to speed up the process. Don't. If you chase them now, you'll disrupt their internal conflict and they'll run right back to stage 1. Instead, lean into the Stoic mindset. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in overcoming it. Use this time to continue growing and strengthening yourself. Let their doubt simmer. Let them wrestle with their own decisions. In stage 2, they're not ready to come back yet. But this stage is where the seeds of regret are planted. The silence you hold, the strength you show, and the growth you demonstrate during this phase are what will make them realize what they've lost. Stay calm, stay patient, and remember, doubt is the first sign that their relief is crumbling. Let it happen. Stage 3. The pull of nostalgia. By stage 3, which is around the 3rd month of the breakup, the doubts from stage 2 start to evolve into something much deeper: nostalgia. This is when your avoidant ex begins to reflect on the relationship in a new light. Not with the same sense of overwhelm or relief they felt earlier, but with a longing for the good times you shared. It's as if their mind starts to filter out the conflicts and focus instead on the warmth, comfort and joy you brought into their life. The pull of nostalgia can hit them in unexpected ways: a song that reminds them of you, a place you both loved, or even mundane routines they used to take for granted. They might think, "I miss how they made me feel," or "I'll never find that kind of connection again." This stage is when they begin to feel the emotional void they tried so hard to ignore in the first 2 stages. According to Stoic philosophy, our perceptions of the past often shape our present emotions. Marcus Aurelius said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." For avoidants, nostalgia forces them to confront what they've been avoiding, their feelings for you. It's uncomfortable for them because it disrupts the narrative they've created about why leaving was the right decision. But here's the thing: they can't escape it. Nostalgia has a way of sneaking up on even the most emotionally detached individuals. For you, stage 3 is another turning point. This is when many people feel tempted to reach out, thinking, if they're missing me, maybe I should say something. But remember, they're still in their own process. Nostalgia is powerful, but it isn't enough yet to pull them back. If you break your silence now, you might provide them with an emotional shortcut that stops their reflection dead in its tracks. Instead, stay rooted in your own growth. As the Stoics advise, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. In other words, focus on being the best version of yourself, someone they'll truly regret losing. Nostalgia is like the wind shifting in your favor, but you don't need to chase it. Let them sit with their longing. Let them stew in the realization that what they're missing is something only you could offer. In stage 3, they start to feel the emotional pull toward you. They're not ready to act on it yet, but the foundation is being laid for what comes next. Let nostalgia do its work. Stage 4. The internal conflict. In stage 4, your avoidant ex is no longer just reminiscing about the good times. They're actively grappling with the conflict between their emotions and their fears. This is the turning point where they begin to realize that their relief and avoidance aren't as sustainable as they thought. The pull of nostalgia has grown stronger, but so has their fear of vulnerability. It's a tug-of-war inside their mind, and it's anything but comfortable. At this stage, they're asking themselves questions like, do I reach out or do I stay distant? What if I go back and it doesn't work? What if they've moved on? This inner turmoil is exhausting for them, and it creates a cycle of indecision. One moment, they feel drawn to reconnect. The next, they're retreating into their avoidant tendencies. This conflict is rooted in their fear of rejection, vulnerability, and the possibility of repeating old patterns. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, it's not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. For avoidance, this stage is where their interpretation of the breakup begins to shift. They're no longer justifying their decision to leave, they're questioning it. They're starting to see the emotional cost of their avoidance and realizing that their fear might have pushed them to abandon something valuable. For you, this stage can feel frustrating because their behavior might seem hot and cold if they do reach out in small, tentative ways. But don't get caught up in their uncertainty. The worst thing you can do at this point is try to solve their internal conflict for them. Avoidants need to wrestle with their feelings on their own to truly commit to change. This is where the Stoic lesson of patience comes into play. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Focus on staying centered and steady. If they sense that you're calm and self-assured, it can actually deepen their internal conflict in a good way, as it forces them to see the difference between their chaos and your stability. In stage 4, which usually happens between the 3rd to 4th month, the scales begin to tip. The longing from nostalgia and the emptiness of their avoidance start to outweigh their fear of vulnerability. But they haven't acted yet. They're still figuring out what to do. The key here is to stay the course and let them resolve their internal conflict on their own. This stage is messy, but it's necessary for them to move toward the next step. Stage 5. Testing the waters. By stage 5, your avoidant ex begins to take small tentative steps toward reconnecting with you. After wrestling with their internal conflict in stage 4, They've reached a point where the pull of missing you outweighs their fear of vulnerability, but they're still cautious. This stage is all about testing the waters to see if it's safe to come closer without exposing themselves too much. How does this look? It often starts subtly. A casual message like, "Hey, how have you been?" Interactions on social media, likes, comments, or viewing your stories. Reaching out under the guise of practicality, like asking about something they left behind or seeking advice. This stage is a mix of curiosity and self-protection. They want to gauge your reaction. Are you still upset? Have you moved on? Are you open to talking? Their fear of rejection is still present, so they'll tread lightly. If they sense that you're welcoming but not overly eager, it'll encourage them to take further steps. On the flip side, if you come across as too distant or too eager, it can spook them or validate their doubts. The Stoics would say this is the moment to demonstrate balance and self-control. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it." Your response to their tentative outreach is crucial. Show them that you've grown and are at peace with or without them. This balance creates an irresistible energy. They'll see someone who is strong, calm, and unshaken by their absence. It's important not to overanalyze their actions or put too much weight on them. Testing the waters doesn't mean they're fully ready to return. It's their way of slowly building trust in the possibility of reconnecting. Your job isn't to interpret their every move. It's to maintain your stability and boundaries. In stage 5, which occurs usually between 4 to 5 months, they're finally making an effort, but it's tentative. Think of it as a litmus test for both of you. Show warmth without sacrificing your self-respect, and let them come to you at their own pace. This stage lays the groundwork for what comes next, whether they're truly ready to take meaningful steps or not. Patience and emotional steadiness are your greatest tools here. Let them test the waters and let your strength and calm be the anchor that draws them closer. Stage 6. Reconnection and vulnerability. In stage 6, the avoidant X crosses a critical threshold. They begin to genuinely reconnect with you, allowing their guard to come down just enough to explore the possibility of repairing the relationship. After testing the waters in stage 5, they've assessed your reaction and feel safe enough to take bolder steps toward re-establishing a connection. This stage is significant because it requires them to confront their vulnerability, something they've likely avoided for a long time. Here's how stage 6 typically looks. They start reaching out more frequently and with greater emotional depth. Conversations shift from casual to meaningful, often revisiting old memories or addressing unresolved feelings. They may hint at regrets, say they miss you, or even directly bring up the idea of getting back together. For an avoidant, this is a scary but necessary stage. They're stepping into territory they usually run from, acknowledging their emotions and expressing them. While they may still be guarded, the fact that they're allowing themselves to feel and share is a big deal. The Stoic philosopher Seneca reminds us, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." This stage is the avoidance version of daring to face their fears. They've realized that the distance they created didn't bring them the peace they thought it would, and now they're daring to explore the vulnerability they've avoided. For you, this stage is both an opportunity and a test. How you respond to their efforts to reconnect will shape the outcome of this stage. Here are some key principles to follow. Stay grounded, be warm and receptive, but don't rush. Let the reconnection unfold naturally, without forcing or overcompensating for their hesitations. Maintain boundaries. Show them that while you're open to reconnecting, you've grown and won't settle for the same patterns that led to the breakup. Encourage honesty. Create a safe space for meaningful conversations, but don't let them avoid accountability. Growth requires both parties to address past issues with clarity and maturity. This stage can be emotional and even bittersweet. They may still struggle with fully opening up, but the fact that they're trying is a clear sign of progress. They're beginning to see that what they lost with you is worth facing their fears. In stage 6, which sometimes can take 5+ months, the focus shifts from reflection to action. This is where the groundwork for reconciliation is truly laid. The key is to balance your openness with self-respect, showing them that you're willing to rebuild, but only on healthier terms. If handled with patience and care, stage 6 becomes the bridge to the final stage. Stage 7. Commitment or closure. After 6 months, if so long, and provided that no contact has not been broken. Stage 7 is the final and most decisive stage. Commitment or closure. After the journey through doubt, nostalgia, internal conflict, testing the waters and reconnection, your avoidant ex must now face the ultimate choice. Do they fully commit to rebuilding the relationship, or do they walk away for good? At this stage, their feelings and intentions become clear, both to you and to themselves. Here's what happens in stage 7. If they choose commitment, they move beyond their fears and take tangible steps to repair the relationship. Vulnerability deepens as they open up about their emotions, regrets, and what they want moving forward. They begin to prioritize the relationship, showing through actions, not just words, that they're ready to invest in a healthier, more secure connection. If they choose closure, they may express gratitude for the relationship and acknowledge their unresolved fears, but ultimately decide they're not ready to face the emotional depth required to make it work. This can be painful, but it also provides clarity, allowing you to move forward without lingering doubts. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminds us, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Whether they choose commitment or closure, this stage is an opportunity for you to embrace what is, without clinging to what could have been. For you, stage 7 is about holding your ground. Here's how to navigate it. If they commit, be clear about your expectations and the changes required for the relationship to succeed. This isn't about blame, it's about growth and setting the stage for a more balanced dynamic. If they seek closure, honor their decision, but also honor yourself. Recognize that their inability to commit says more about their own fears and limitations than it does about your worth. Either way, this stage is a resolution. If they choose to stay, it's because they've worked through their fears and see the value in rebuilding with you. If they leave, it's because they couldn't meet you at the level you deserve. And that's not a reflection of your value, but of their own emotional journey. What this means for you. Stage 7 marks the end of the cycle. It's where the future becomes clear, whether that's a new chapter together or a clean slate for you to move forward without them. As Seneca said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Trust that whatever happens in this stage, you've grown, evolved, and shown strength throughout the process. commitment or closure, it's the clarity you've been waiting for. Accept it with grace, knowing that either way you're on the path to a better, more fulfilled version of yourself. And there you have it, the 7 stages and their timeline before an avoidant ex returns. Each stage is a stepping stone, not just for them, but for you as well. Whether it ends in commitment or closure, remember, this journey isn't just about waiting for someone to return. It's about growing into the best version of yourself, stronger, wiser, and more self-assured. If you've made it this far, take a moment to reflect on your own power in this process. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You've been mastering yourself, holding your boundaries, and allowing them the space to find their way back, or walk away. That takes strength. Before you go, I want you to comment below. I am my own anchor. This will remind you that no matter where they are in their stages, you are in control of your growth, your peace, and your future. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like this video to let me know you're here for this kind of content. Subscribe to stay on top of all my videos about emotional growth, relationships, and self-mastery. Share this video with someone who might need clarity or encouragement on their own journey. And trust me, what's coming next is going to give you even more tools to navigate relationships and life with confidence and clarity. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. Until next time, stay grounded, stay strong, and remember, you are always enough.